Hi guys, in this tutorial I will show you how to convert and render with Cinema 4D this stool made with surface in Rhino. So the first thing to do is select all the surface and do mesh from NURBS object, and with these settings that for me works very good, do a little preview to see what happens. Let's check a little quadrangulated mesh, but with some triangle in the edge, but for me it's good. Then I click OK and I hide the surface. Then I select all the meshes and export it in FBX, like File, Export Selected, select the path to export it. I save it on the desktop for this example. Simple stool. Now select Motion Builder Point FBX for the export and click Save. Meshes only, and Fong has like material but doesn't matter very much. That is it. Now we are going to do the render in Cinema 4D. So I create a plane, simple plane, to create the studio background, so the limbo. I delete all the segment, and with C I make it editable. Then I select the edges, side edges, and extrude it to create the wall of the studio. Extrude with an offset of 0, and then with the gizmo I pull up the edge to create the wall. And that is it. Now I select the middle edges of the wall and I bevel it with a distance of about, let's try 52 and 10 subdivision, and then check font break rounding. The basic shape of my limbo is good. I will open now I will open the stool, import it with FBX. Doesn't matter the material, so I delete it from the material editor and from all the objects. And now I rotate the stool for the correct position in my scene on the x-axis. Now I rename it the group stool for my better comprehension of the scene, and I copy and paste on the limbo scene. Okay, now I put in the center of the object the null stool basic in the center of the geometry, with selecting only the null with L, the key L, and then I center it in the center of the scene, and I place it in a nice configuration that I love for the shots. Then I create a Vray bridge camera, Vray physical camera, to have the final shot. I set the white balance to neutral, because we have in neutral ambient in interior, then the white is white. Then I change my preset to do my render. I choose a quad view of 180 per 180 pixels for publishing it on Instagram, but feel free to choose your dimension of the image. Then I set up the focal length of about 70mm to have a nice look, and with composition grid I checked the position of my camera relative to the object. When I'm done, I go to Vray Cinema 4D tags, and I assign to the camera a tag protection to prevent any movement on this camera. Now start to lighting the scene with lights. So lights, and click on Vray. Vray rectangle light. That's it. Now I place my array light in my chosen position of about on the left of the object. Sorry, on the right of the object, to create my primary light, so the key light or main light. Now let's set up Vray bridge as render, GI is on, and irradiance map and light cache like GI. Okay, now first test render to see what it look like. Okay, it's too dark, so I stop it, and I go to increase my render settings. Sampler type in anti-aliasing in the Vray options change to bucket. And now on my camera I'm going to pump up the quantity of light that passes through the camera with placing a shutter speed of 50 instead of 200. Let's try to render it. Maybe it's too dark, so stop it. Go to my let's change the intensity of my main light. So go to my main light, and with the Vray tag I'm going to put maybe I change a little bit the shape of this area to have a nicer look of the scene with harder shadows when we decrease the dimension of the area light. This is good, my angle is good. Now place radiant power in watts, and let's try maybe 50. Display quick shading to avoid the overexposure area, so I can continue to see what I'm doing. Now test render. Okay, that's good. It's a little bit contrasted, so to avoid these black parts of the image, I will go to apply an environment to my scene. So in my environment color, I change the color to white. And now let's try to render it. As you can see, the darkest part of the image are more washed out to create a little bit better, nice limbo setup. My shadows are good, so I have now in this example a less contrasted image to see better my object. So now I create a shader, Vray Bridge, Vray Advanced Material. Let's name it Limbo. The diffuse, I set the brightness to 90% and assign it to the limbo or plane. Now I create another shader with Advanced Material and name it Stool. Leave all settings on the basic settings and assign it to limbo, to my stool, sorry. And now we try to render this out. The render is pretty the same of the previous, but my limbo are a little bit of information in white. They are more bright. I like these results. And now, as you can see in the pass, we're going to brighten up my image. Now I'm happy with it, so I copy and paste my main light and I rename it to secondary light, second light, and I change this position on the left of the camera, set a good rotation that worked for me, and check it up my position above to illuminate directly the side of the stool. Okay, now I change the shape of my area to have more washed out shadow with increasing the dimension of this area light. Now test render it to see what I'm doing. Maybe it's good. Okay, good. As you can see, I brightened up the side of the stool that are too dark in the previous render. I want to increase the main shadow to a nicer intensity, and I wanted to have it more harder and not softer, so I decrease the dimension of the area light to increase the order of the shadow of the main light. That's good. Now save the scene. Okay, good. Now we have to create the material for the wood of the wood of the stool. So with my texture, feel free to use what you want, what texture you want for the wood. I apply it on the diffuse channel of my Stool 01 material, Vray Advanced Material, already assigned to my Stool basic. Okay, this is a simple way to assign it. So I change the UV texture on the texture tag to cubic, and the tiles to about 10 on the U and 10 on the V, to have a nice start of my texture. Okay, now increase my map preview size to see better what I'm doing. Okay, the textures are good for this kind of work. So now I'm going to apply this basic material to every parts of the stool, with moving the little tag of the material with shift selected, control selected to duplicate it. Now I'm going to adjust the position of the texture on my object. So I select all the sided part of this first piece of the stool, apply a second tag of the material, and I'm going to change a little bit my position of the stool, of the texture of the stool, with the texture tag under the object tag on the right of on the left of my screen. So I rotate it to have a nice alignment of the texture on the other side of my object, and I change the dimension of the texture to create a more compressed looking of the texture to about let's try 80. Okay, it's good. So now I duplicate this material and rename it inner, Stool 01 inner, and with a filter apply it on my map. Filter, where is it? Okay, with filter here. Okay, good. I'm going to change the color of my woods with a little bit of simple color correction inside Cinema 4D without adjusting this texture in Photoshop. Okay, my contrast is too dark. Let's reduce my saturation. Okay, this is good for my stool. Okay, apply it to the side of the first part of the stool, replacing the previous tag. Okay, now I'm going to do the same things on the other parts of the objects. I'm deleting the material on my basic stool. Change uncheck my viewing in rendering of all the parts of the stool, and only select the first leg to create to assign it properly the material. So I select with double click all the parts that Rhino export separated for faster and quickest selection in this case, but it's not it isn't always a good topology or good start for render, but in this case it's good. Now I select the other face on the side. I selected it and holding shift and right and left click of the mouse to select all the parts, and okay, first last thing. Okay, last parts. Okay, that's good. Let's see if I select everything I want. Yeah, and apply the stool material. Sorry, the stool of the side material, not from the inner of the woods. Change the mode to cubic and tiles will be on 10 by 10. Now invert selection with UE and assign to the selected new edged faces, the inner material of the stool. Change to cubic 80 and 10. And now rotate the UV to create a better looking of the side of the materials. Okay, after doing this, repeat this process for all the parts of the stool. My stool is ready, everything is unwrapped correctly with these fast and simple methods. The inner part are more brownish and the exterior part of the wood are more lighter in color. So I apply to all the material a little bit of specular for the woods in about a specular of about 0.9 on reflection glossiness and a brightness of about 50% to have a little and thin nice looking of this stool. When I'm done this, I increase my file ISO to 400 to have a better exposure and try to render it. Okay, good. We have finished. This is a simple way to pass through Rhinoceros to Cinema 4D and render quickly. So, see you at the next tutorial. Bye!